Well, look what the cat brought in. Hey, man, we're back. Absolutely. Let's get this intro done. We've got some explaining to do on Two Guys, Same Person. Here we are, back in our safe space, talking to ourselves, by ourselves, about things that we're thinking about. This is Two Guys, Same Person, Season 2, Episode 2. Man, tell us what's been going on. Well, for those who frequently check in and listen to us, you might have noticed that we were gone for a few weeks. We had a work stoppage issue with the hardware that we've got going on here. Yeah. Basically, there was a massive problem going on with the computer here. Yep. We couldn't figure it out and self-diagnose. So we actually had to take it to a shop, which actually took a couple of weeks for them to figure out what was going on. Yeah, shout out to My Crazy Machine here in Chicago. It's one guy, from what I could tell, kind of runs it out of his house, but super helpful, super nice, super knowledgeable. And instead of just, saying it was this massive problem and making me spend a ton of money, he explained the parts and labor, what the problem was, how to kind of work these problems out for myself, so you don't have to keep bringing it back. Definitely somebody who I would recommend check out your PC or other electronics if you're having problems here in the Chicago area. Absolutely. And I think this is a great segue into our topic today. Why don't you tell everybody what we've got going on? Well, if you're having trouble reading the title, it says missing people. And I don't mean Amber Alerts or people who are missing. Right. I mean literally missing other individuals who aren't in my immediate family. Yeah. We have all basically lived the same life for the past year and a half. Very separated, very online because of all the things going on. And I have noticed that even having to take my computer to get repaired was a incredible experience because I got to meet somebody new and talk to them and not have the same conversations over and over. And I'm very interested to dive into this need for connectivity and what's kind of happening with a lot of the divide that's happening at the same time. Right. Be it politically, scientifically, intellectually, physically. Let's talk about that. Yeah. So one of the things that I noticed first was when things started opening back up, even slightly into the whatever small stages they started with, I immediately noticed that I was having a problem looking people in the eyes because I had just spent a year talking to disembodied voices over the phone, staring at computer screens. Even in Zoom meetings, I'm trying to look at my camera to make it, appear that I'm making eye contact. Now, most people will look down at the picture, and then everybody, or maybe some of you, have noticed that you can tell that somebody's kind of looking just below your eye line. So I had to relearn that, and it was awkward at first. And I'm a very social person. I always have been. As much as I like to stay in and make music and play video games and say, oh, I don't want to go out. No plans are better than canceled plans. But I had a hard time with it, and it really surprised me. Now, one of the things that I think we excel at is being able to wear that human element on our sleeves where we'll bring it up in conversation and say, hey, is this weird to you? Because I'm having a hard time even just looking people in the eyes because I'm so used to staring at a computer screen, looking away and, thinking about what I need to think about because I don't have to look at you. I'm talking at you over the phone. If we're in a Zoom meeting, I'm even staring at my camera up at the top of the laptop so that, I appear to be making eye contact through the screen. Even most of us will look at the picture below, but maybe it's something that only I've noticed, but I can see that people are looking a little bit below my line of sight. But it makes sense. But it's still, it's still this thing going on in my brain that makes me feel disconnected from everybody that's around me. And that's just from the pandemic itself. We're not even yet including the social issues that we're trying to tackle or have always been trying to tackle, the rise in anti-intellectualism, the anti-science, the anti-trust in people, science, government, whatever is happening, this political divide. There's this great sundering that's been happening, and it's not fun. I don't think it's something that you and I are going to sit here and be able to figure out,
Right.
but I don't hear a lot of people talking about it. I hear a lot of people having their side of their opinions, but I don't hear a lot of how do we bridge this gap? How do we reconnect on this common ground?
Yep.
There's always going to be disagreements. There are 8 billion people on this planet, man. You're going to have a lot of hard times getting everybody on one set path. Be it a difference in your societal structure. I think we've mentioned before that, this American individual success is so much different than, say, a South American familial success, where you don't leave home. You live at home with your mom and your dad and your grandma and your great-grandma, and everybody is there to build the family, and you bring people into the family rather than going off on your own and starting. That's just a different in societies. Neither of them are wrong inherently.
Right.
It's a different way of doing things. Each is going to have their pros and cons, but you can't get everybody into that singular mindset, and I don't know if you want to, but you do have to have a common understanding of difference and allow that space, but there also needs to be a common understanding for some specific things. Murder is bad. We don't like it when we don't treat life with respect.
Right.
And it gets a little out of control, especially with the internet. We are now seeing that the internet of yore, the fun, connected, hello, I'm sending an email from California all the way to Maine. Wow. Now we're seeing echo chambers of opinions that might not be correct. We're seeing a spike in insane conspiracy theories. We should do a whole episode on conspiracy theories, but
or not.
It's getting a little out of hand. It feels very like the Wild West of the digital era. That's a great point. You look at the actual Wild West, where there was this push out to this new territory. There's no rules. You gotta go and make your fortune and do whatever. It feels very much like that on the internet. Now, there are rules on the internet, and it's not the exact same, but you can get away with a lot. And we're figuring out how to lay this foundation of law, of who can get in trouble for what and saying what they want to, and
banned on Facebook.
Is it even a crime if you're just saying the words and you haven't done it yet? Now you're into Minority Report. It's a very complicated issue that ties into the complication of everything that's happening. It used to be a person would go and buy a car, comes with a manual, you know all the parts, you know how to fix it, but now it's taking teams of hundreds of people to create these things. They each know a bit, and you have to take it into a specialized thing, because it's not just your alternators and your starters. Now you've got computers, and you've got chips on board that are recording and timing, and it's so much more complicated than it used to be. Which isn't inherently a bad thing. It's just new. Well, I think one of the issues here is that a lot of people are having a difficult time admitting that things are super complicated now. And it's dividing these people. We are getting to a point where if you have an opinion that is not the same as mine, I can just unfriend you. You're out of my life. I never have to deal with you again. Now, only a Sith deals in absolutes, right? But when somebody says the politicians are actually a cabal of lizard people that are sucking the bloods of children and pedophilia, all right, you're getting a little unrealistic here.
Yes, a little.
Humans ruling other humans is a very complicated thing, and we all need to continue to have this discussion. We can't just throw each other to the side and say, you don't matter anymore because you have an opinion that is different from mine. We have to say, this is hard. Let's continue to have this conversation. You don't throw a marriage away just because you have a fight or you disagree on the way to approach a specific issue. You say, this is hard. Let's talk. This is too hard for us to talk about. Let's go to counseling. Let's figure this out. And then even if the marriage itself ends, you're not going to secede from the union and start killing each other. What you're going to do is find a mutual solid piece of ground, whatever that looks like for your relationship, and make it work. We don't have to make it work anymore. I can just unfriend you and not see you ever again.
Absolutely. And to bring back that Sith quote, only a Sith deals in absolutes, there are also marriages that should end if there's abuse involved. If it's just not working out, it is okay to go your separate ways. But Now, hold on. I'm sorry. Let me interrupt me here for a second real quick.
Yeah.
There's even a common ground there. In that situation where you've decided to go your own ways and do your own things, you have agreed to not stalk each other, to not murder each other,
you're
to
right.
not
Yeah.
defame each other by saying that you are a lizard that drinks baby blood. So I'm not saying that it's okay to just ignore each other completely,
Right.
but unspoken rules are still rules that are understood by both parties.
Absolutely.
Anyway, thank you. Continue.
Yeah. No. It's a good point.
This also ties back into the echo chamber of the internet. How much
Yes.
of that is really prevalent?
Yeah.
How much of that is taking over the entire population of the United States, and how
Right.
much of it is just what is getting clicks and articles being written about it? You know, we gotta reconnect with other human beings somehow.
Yeah.
Again, we don't have the answers here. The internet seemed like a really good place to start back in the 80s and 90s to connect everybody, but it's kind of started creating cliques and I don't mean CLICKS. I mean CLIQUEUEQS cliques, like in high school, where I'm a this and I'm a that and you're a that and I'm a this and we're gonna stay in our separate lanes.
Right.
We got to find a way to reconnect with each other, and that's really hard when getting together in groups of people is inherently dangerous because there's a pandemic happening. So we've identified that there's a big deal happening.
Yep. We sure did.
What do you got? What kind of ideas could you throw out into the ether? What's helping you, us, me reconnect with people? Well, I'm using the internet to my advantage. Finding different groups of special interests, like, you know, video game groups on Facebook, specific artwork people on Reddit. I actually started posting onto the subreddit podcast, and I'm really getting to learn about podcasts and the community and what people do for their type of thing.
Yeah.
I'm using programs like Discord. You also could use, you know, Zoom or whatever Teams meeting that you can do to replace those kind of in physical person experiences with something online.
Right.
Now we are also at a point where a lot of people are vaccinated, wearing masks. You can go back out there. You got to be safe. Do the right thing.
Right.
But you know, going to the park
Delta.
with some people is probably not going to kill you. Going somewhere indoors and it's not super packed, and maybe you've got a table separating you from another family, being smart, whatever that means to you.
Yeah.
Look, there's an inherent risk to being alive, and none of us make it out of here with our life.
Yep.
So there's a bit of a compromise with quantity versus quality of life.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying put yourself in danger, but I'm also saying you can't live a danger-free life. That's not how it works.
Yep.
You gotta do what you gotta do while you can do something. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you can't blame other people and put your fears onto others because you're contributing to that divide between other humans.
Yep.
Again, we don't have the answers. It's just something that we wanted to discuss, some things that we've noticed. Let us know if you've been having feelings like this.
Please.
Reach out to us if you need somebody new to talk to, or if you've known me for a while and you want to reconnect. I'm absolutely available. Before we get out of here, I have to shout out a couple of very special individuals. We're going with Billy, and we're going with Bailey. These are our first two Patreon members. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
If you guys haven't noticed, we've got a Patreon. The link's below in the description. It really helps us when our computer dies, and we have a little bit of that extra money from people who want to hear this podcast continue, so that I can do the physical things to keep it afloat.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
I hope you're doing okay.
Yep.
Again, if you need to connect, reach out, send an email, send a Facebook message, whatever you need to do. Try to reconnect with other people. We love you guys. Thank you for listening. This has been Two Guys, Same Person.